The oldest secret in the galaxy was never hidden. It was abandoned, far beyond the borders of every known empire, beyond black holes, beyond dead stars. A single warship drifted through endless space, silent, motionless, waiting. No one knew who built it. No one knew how old it was. Some believed it was older than the galaxy itself. Others believed it was alive. The ship had only one name, the Eternus. Every civilization feared it, not because it attacked, but because no one had ever been able to wake it. Thousands of alien empires had tried. They sent scientists, engineers, generals, even kings. The brightest minds touched its dark metal. Nothing happened. The strongest warriors forced open its doors. Nothing happened. The most advanced artificial intelligences tried to hack its systems. Nothing. It remained completely silent, as if it was waiting for someone else. Over the centuries, entire religions formed around the sleeping ship. Some aliens prayed to it. Others demanded it be destroyed. But every attempt failed. The metal could not be scratched. Its engines could not be moved. Even the strongest weapons in the galaxy left no mark. Eventually, the Galactic Council declared the Eternus forbidden. No ship was allowed within 1,000 kilometers. Anyone who approached never returned. No one knew why. The Council erased every official record. Schools stopped teaching its existence. Maps removed its location. But legends never disappear. Far away, on a forgotten mining station near the edge of human space, a young mechanic wiped grease from his hands. His name was Ethan Carter. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't famous. He had never commanded a fleet. Most people barely noticed him. His job was simple: repair broken engines, replace damaged circuits, keep old cargo ships flying. Nothing more. Every day looked exactly the same. Broken machines, long hours, very little money. But Ethan loved one thing: machines. He believed every machine had a story. Even the oldest wreck deserved another chance. Other mechanics laughed at him. You spend more time talking to engines than people. Ethan only smiled. Machines never lie. One quiet evening, a massive shadow covered the station. Workers looked up. Cargo ships stopped moving. Emergency alarms echoed through every corridor. For a moment, everyone thought pirates had arrived. But this ship carried no weapons, no empire's flag, no military markings. Only one silver symbol. The symbol of the Galactic Council. People froze. The Council never visited places like this. Not unless something had gone terribly wrong. 3 enormous officers stepped onto the station, each over 8 feet tall. Silver armor covered their bodies. Their eyes scanned every worker, ignoring everyone else. They walked directly toward Ethan. The entire repair bay became silent. His friend stepped backward. One officer spoke. "Ethan Carter." "Yes." "You have been selected." Ethan frowned. "For what?" The officer didn't answer immediately. Instead, he handed Ethan a sealed black data crystal. On its surface, a symbol appeared. A symbol no one had seen in thousands of years. A symbol from an ancient legend. The symbol of the Eternus. Ethan stared at it. His heartbeat became faster. "What is this?" The officer finally answered. "The galaxy needs a mechanic." Then he looked directly into Ethan's eyes. "And if you fail, the galaxy dies." The officer stepped aside. A giant transport ship slowly opened its doors. Inside, Ethan saw something that made his blood run cold. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't an army. It was the oldest warship in the history of the galaxy. And the moment Ethan looked at it, the ship opened one glowing blue eye. For the first time in thousands of years, the Eternus had awakened. The transport ship never stopped. It flew in complete silence. No engines, no vibrations, only darkness outside the windows. Ethan had traveled through space before, but this felt different. It was as if space itself had become quiet. No stars, no planets, nothing, only endless black. He looked at the 3 council officers. None of them had spoken since they left the station. Finally, Ethan broke the silence. Where are we going? No answer. He tried again. What exactly is Eternus? One officer slowly turned his head. His silver eyes showed no emotion. You will see. Hours passed. Then, the darkness disappeared. Ethan looked through the window, and his breath stopped. Something impossible floated before them. It wasn't just a ship. It was a moving world. The Eternus stretched across space like a sleeping giant. Its black metal reflected no light. Its surface looked untouched by time. Thousands of enormous towers rose from its body. Ancient symbols glowed faintly across its armor. Some sections looked like castles. Others looked like cities. Entire mountains could have fit inside it. Ethan whispered, "That's impossible." One officer nodded. The Eternus is over 40 kilometers long. It was built before the first known civilization. No one knows who created it. As they moved closer, Ethan noticed something strange. Hundreds of wrecked alien ships surrounded the giant vessel. Some looked ancient. Others looked modern. Every one of them was completely dead, frozen forever around the sleeping warship. What happened to them? The officer answered quietly. They tried to control it. They failed. The transport landed inside a massive docking chamber. The doors opened. Cold air rushed inside. Ethan stepped out slowly. The entire chamber was silent. No machines. No guards. No lights. Only darkness. And endless black walls. Then, without warning, blue lines appeared beneath Ethan's feet, one after another, like glowing veins waking inside the floor. The officers immediately stepped back. They looked at each other. One whispered nervously, "It has never done that before." The blue light continued forward, creating a glowing path, straight toward a gigantic door. The door was nearly 200 feet tall. Ancient symbols covered every inch of it. Suddenly, the symbols began to move, slowly, like living creatures. Ethan stared in disbelief. What is happening? No one answered. The enormous door opened by itself. A deep vibration echoed through the ship, not loud, but powerful enough to shake Ethan's chest. Beyond the doorway, a massive hall stretched into darkness. Thousands of giant pillars lined both sides. At the center sat an enormous throne, empty. Above it floated a glowing sphere of blue light. The officers immediately stopped walking. "We cannot go farther." Ethan looked confused. "What do you mean?" "No alien has ever crossed this room. They all died before reaching the throne." Ethan slowly looked ahead. "So, why bring me here?" The oldest officer finally spoke. "Because the ship asked for a human." Silence filled the hall. Ethan almost laughed. The ship asked? It has no speakers, no voice, no signals. And yet, every system in this vessel activated 3 days ago. For the first time in 12,000 years, it transmitted only 2 words. The officer looked directly at Ethan. Those 2 words were, "Bring human." Ethan felt a chill run through his body. "That's impossible." "We know, but your DNA was the only match. Every database, every colony, every planet. Only one result appeared. Ethan Carter, a mechanic, nobody important." Ethan slowly walked toward the throne. Every step echoed across the silent chamber. 10 steps, nothing. 20 steps, nothing. 30 steps. The blue sphere suddenly became brighter. The entire hall trembled. Warning lights flashed across walls that had been dark for thousands of years. Ancient machines slowly awakened. Deep beneath the ship, something enormous moved. The council officers immediately raised their weapons. One shouted, "Fall back! It's waking!" Ethan froze. The blue sphere floated closer. It stopped only inches from his face. For several long seconds, nothing happened. Then, a single beam of blue light touched Ethan's hand. Instantly, every symbol inside the hall ignited. The throne came alive. Ancient engines roared beneath the ship. Across the galaxy, thousands of hidden sensors suddenly activated. Military stations detected the same impossible message. The Eternus is online. Inside the ship, A calm mechanical voice echoed for the first time in 12,000 years. DNA confirmed. A pause followed. Then the voice spoke again. Welcome home. Commander. Before anyone could react, every council officer dropped to one knee. Not because they wanted to, but because an invisible force pushed them down. Only Ethan remained standing. Then, a hidden wall slowly opened behind the throne. From the darkness, heavy footsteps echoed. 1, 2, 3. Something ancient had just awakened. The footsteps grew louder. Each step shook the ancient hall. Dust that had rested for thousands of years slowly drifted from the ceiling. The council officers remained on one knee. None of them could move. None of them even dared to look up. Only Ethan stood in complete silence. The hidden doorway opened wider. A massive figure emerged from the darkness. It stood nearly 12 feet tall. Its body was forged from black metal unlike anything Ethan had ever seen. Blue energy flowed through glowing lines beneath its armor. Its face looked almost human, yet completely machine. Its silver eyes slowly locked onto Ethan. For several seconds, neither of them moved. The giant machine suddenly lowered its head. Then, to everyone's disbelief, it knelt. The entire chamber fell silent. One council officer whispered in fear, "No, that's impossible." The mechanical giant spoke with a deep, calm voice. "Guardian Prime greets the Supreme Commander." Ethan blinked. "I think you made a mistake. I repair cargo engines. I've never commanded anything." Guardian Prime slowly raised its head. "There is no mistake. The Eternus never chooses twice. The command protocol cannot fail." Ethan looked around the hall. "Then why me?" Guardian Prime answered immediately. "Because you carry the first signature." The words meant nothing to Ethan, but the council officers looked terrified. One officer's hands were shaking. "The first signature? It cannot still exist." Guardian Prime turned toward them. "For 12,000 years, you searched for the wrong bloodline. The creators never belonged to your empires. They belonged to humanity." Silence. No one spoke. The council commanders slowly stood. Humans only entered the Galactic Council 300 years ago. They are one of the youngest civilizations. Guardian Prime's glowing eyes brightened. "Incorrect. Human civilization is one of the oldest." The room became completely still. Ethan frowned. "What are you talking about?" Guardian Prime walked toward a giant wall. It placed one hand against the ancient metal. Instantly, the wall transformed into a living hologram. Stars appeared. Galaxies formed. Countless civilizations rose, then vanished, one after another. Millions of years passed within seconds. Finally, a blue planet appeared. Earth, but it wasn't modern Earth. Gigantic cities covered the oceans. Enormous orbital rings surrounded the planet. Thousands of shining warships filled the sky. Ethan stared in disbelief. "That's Earth." Guardian Prime nodded. "Before history. Before memory. Before humanity forgot itself." The council officers looked horrified. "Impossible." Guardian Prime ignored them. "The first human empire protected this galaxy. It built the Eternus. It ended the First Galactic War. It disappeared to prevent absolute extinction." Ethan couldn't believe what he was hearing. "If that's true, why does no one remember?" Guardian Prime answered quietly. "Because your ancestors erased themselves. They chose survival over power. They hid among primitive worlds. They allowed history to forget. So one day, they could begin again." Ethan slowly stepped backward. "This can't be real." "It is." Guardian Prime raised one hand. A glowing crystal floated from the ceiling. It stopped before Ethan. "This contains the memories of every commander." The crystal gently touched Ethan's forehead. The moment it did, pain exploded through his mind. Flashes raced before his eyes. Ancient battlefields. Burning galaxies. Millions of warships. Human commanders wearing white armor. Alien fleets surrendering. Entire stars collapsing. A voice echoed inside his mind. "Protect life. Never seek conquest. Power exists only to defend. Ethan gasped as the visions disappeared. He dropped to one knee. His breathing became heavy. Guardian Prime helped him stand. You have seen only one memory. There are millions more. Suddenly, the entire ship shook violently. Red warning lights flooded every corridor. An alarm unlike anything Ethan had ever heard echoed across Eternus. Guardian Prime's calm expression changed for the first time. Danger detected. Another voice echoed through the ship. Warning, unknown fleet detected. Unknown fleet detected. One council officer rushed toward a holographic display. His face turned pale. Oh no! It can't be! Hundreds, then thousands, then tens of thousands of red dots appeared around Eternus. An enormous fleet had surrounded the ancient warship. Ships unlike anything in the Galactic Council database. Black, silent, covered in crimson symbols. Guardian Prime looked directly at Ethan. They have returned. Ethan swallowed. Who? Guardian Prime answered with a voice colder than space itself. The civilization that destroyed the first human empire. Outside, one colossal enemy flagship slowly moved forward. A transmission appeared across every screen inside the Eternus. A deep voice echoed through the ancient halls. Return the human commander, or we will erase this galaxy. At that exact moment, the Eternus ancient weapons began activating on their own. For the first time in 12,000 years, the oldest warship in existence, prepared for war. The ancient halls fell silent. Only the warning alarms echoed through the Eternus. Outside, more enemy warships appeared every second. 1,000, 5,000, 10,000. Then, the sensors stopped counting. The council commander stared at the tactical display. His voice trembled. I've never seen a fleet this large. Guardian Prime answered calmly. You haven't. This fleet has not entered the galaxy for 12,000 years. Every officer instinctively reached for their weapons. Ethan looked at the endless sea of enemy ships. Who are they? Guardian Prime's eyes glowed brighter. They call themselves the Void Dominion. They do not conquer planets. They erase civilizations. They leave nothing behind. No survivors. No history. No memory. Ethan felt a chill. So, they destroyed the first human empire? Guardian Prime nodded. They believe they did. Suddenly, the enemy flagship transmitted another message. The voice was cold, almost emotionless. Human, step away from Eternus. This warship belongs to no living race. Obey, and your species will be spared. Silence. Every council officer looked toward Ethan. The decision was his. Ethan slowly walked toward the command throne. He wasn't fearless. His hands were shaking. His heart was racing. I'm just a mechanic. He whispered. Guardian Prime answered. Exactly. Ethan looked confused. Guardian Prime continued. A conqueror sees weapons. A mechanic sees purpose. The Eternus never needed another warrior. It needed someone who fixes. Instead, it destroys. Those words changed something inside Ethan. He slowly sat on the ancient throne. The moment he touched it, blue light exploded across the bridge. Every dormant system awakened. Thousands of holograms appeared. Ancient engines roared. Power levels climbed higher, and higher, and higher. Outside, the Eternus came alive. Across its enormous hull, millions of blue lines ignited. Gigantic weapon ports opened. Ancient shields surrounded the ship. For the first time in 12,000 years, the oldest warship breathed again. Across the enemy fleet, panic spread. One captain shouted, "It's active!" Another yelled, "Impossible!" The legends were true. Inside the flagship, the enemy supreme commander stood silently. He wore black armor covered in crimson symbols. His face showed no fear, only anger. So, the human commander has returned. He raised one hand. Destroy the Eternus. Instantly, thousands of enemy cannons fired. Space itself turned red. Millions of plasma beams raced toward the ancient ship. The council officers closed their eyes. No shield can survive that. The attack struck. Then, disappeared, not exploded, not blocked. They simply vanished. Every beam touching the Eternus dissolved into blue particles. The bridge became silent. Ethan stared at the tactical display. What happened? Guardian Prime replied, the Eternus does not absorb energy. It remembers it. Ethan frowned. What does that mean? Guardian Prime smiled. For the first time. It means we may now return their gift. The ancient AI spoke. Permission requested. Ethan hesitated. What permission? To fire. Everyone looked at him. This single decision could restart a war that had ended 12,000 years ago. Ethan took a deep breath. He remembered the ancient memories. Protect life. Never seek conquest. He slowly shook his head. No. The bridge froze. Guardian Prime looked surprised. You refuse? Yes. We don't fire first. The council officers stared at Ethan. Even Guardian Prime remained silent. For several long seconds, nothing happened. Then, the AI spoke. Command verified. Ethical protocol confirmed. You are the true commander. Guardian Prime lowered his head. The previous commanders would have made the same choice. Before anyone could speak, a desperate emergency transmission interrupted everything. A nearby civilian colony appeared on the screen. Children, families, thousands of innocent people. The enemy fleet had changed targets. Instead of attacking the Eternus, they aimed their weapons at the undefended colony. The Supreme Commander laughed. Human, if you will not fight for yourself, fight for them. Thousands of enemy cannons began charging. The colony had less than 30 seconds. The council commander whispered, we can't reach them in time. Guardian Prime looked at Ethan. Only one order could save millions. Ethan stood from the throne. His voice was calm. But every person on the bridge felt its weight. If they want a war... He looked directly at the tactical map. They just made the biggest mistake in their history. At that exact moment, the Eternus disappeared. Not jumped, not accelerated. It simply vanished from space. 1 second later, it appeared directly between the enemy fleet and the helpless colony. The Void Dominion Supreme Commander whispered only one sentence. Impossible. The Void Dominion fleet stopped firing. Not because they wanted to, because the Eternus was now standing between them and the colony. The ancient warship blocked every weapon, every sensor, every attack. The colony below fell silent. Families looked into the sky. They had never seen a ship this large, or this beautiful. Its blue energy illuminated the darkness like a second sun. Inside the Eternus, Guardian Prime smiled. The civilians are safe. Ethan didn't answer. His eyes remained fixed on the tactical display. Millions of lives depended on his next decision. The Void Supreme Commander slowly stood from his throne. His crimson eyes narrowed. So, you truly are different. Ethan activated the communication channel. This war ends today. The enemy laughed. No, it ends when humanity disappears forever. Without warning, the Void fleet charged again. This time, not with plasma, not with missiles. Thousands of black spheres emerged from the enemy ships. Each sphere was as large as a city. The council commander gasped. Graviton bombs. If they explode, the entire star system will collapse. Even Guardian Prime looked serious. The Void has become more dangerous. Ethan remained calm. There has to be another way. Guardian Prime nodded. There is, but only the Supreme Commander can authorize it. What is it? Guardian Prime looked directly at Ethan. The Legacy Protocol. The room became silent. Every council officer stepped backward. One whispered nervously. I thought that protocol was only a myth. Guardian Prime slowly placed one hand on the command console. A hidden compartment opened. Inside rested a single silver key. It wasn't made of metal. It looked like pure light. Guardian Prime carefully handed it to Ethan. This key has waited for 12,000 years. Ethan slowly took it. The moment his fingers touched the glowing key, the entire Eternus changed. Walls shifted. Ancient doors opened. Hidden engines awakened. Across the galaxy, thousands of forgotten structures suddenly activated, buried beneath frozen moons, deep inside abandoned planets, hidden beneath oceans. Ancient human facilities came online, one after another. The Galactic Council watched in disbelief. Signals flooded every communication network. Unknown satellites, secret shipyards, underground cities, massive defense platforms, all carrying the same ancient symbol, the symbol of humanity. The council commander whispered, "There were human bases hidden across the galaxy." Guardian Prime answered, "They were never destroyed. They were sleeping, and they have recognized their commander." Suddenly, the tactical map exploded with blue lights. Not enemy ships. Allies. Thousands of them. Then tens of thousands. Then hundreds of thousands. Ancient human warships emerged from hidden locations across the galaxy. Every vessel was older than recorded history. Every one awakened automatically. The AI of each ship transmitted the same message. "Awaiting orders, Commander." Silence filled the bridge. Ethan stared at the impossible fleet. "I command." "All of them." Guardian Prime nodded. "The first fleet has returned." Outside, the Void Dominion finally showed fear. Their supreme commander slammed his fist against the command console. "No! Destroy those ships before they fully awaken." The enemy fleet fired everything they had. Millions of weapons crossed space. But this time, they weren't alone. One by one, the ancient human ships activated their shields. Not a single civilian world was touched. Not one attack reached its target. The first fleet formed a perfect defensive wall around the galaxy. The council commander could barely speak. "I spent my entire life studying military history, and none of this was ever recorded." Guardian Prime quietly replied, "History was written by survivors, not by protectors." Ethan looked across the endless blue fleet. He finally understood. Humanity had never disappeared. It had simply chosen to hide, not because humans were weak, because absolute power, in the wrong hands, would destroy the galaxy. Suddenly, every light inside the Eternus turned red. Guardian Prime froze. His expression changed completely. "No, it cannot be." Ethan looked at him. "What happened?" Guardian Prime slowly turned toward the main screen. Deep behind the enemy fleet, space itself began to crack. Not explode. Crack, like broken glass. A massive black fracture spread across the stars. Something enormous was trying to enter the galaxy. The Void Supreme Commander immediately dropped to one knee. Not before Ethan. Before the darkness. His terrified voice echoed across every communication channel. "Forgive us, my Emperor. The gate is open." Guardian Prime whispered words no one wanted to hear. "The Void Emperor has awakened." The crack in space expanded. A single crimson eye slowly opened inside the darkness. It was larger than planets. The eye looked directly at Ethan. Then, a deep voice echoed across the entire galaxy. "At last! The last human commander has returned. Now! Finish the warrior ancestors started." The galaxy became silent. No one moved. No one even breathed. That single crimson eye was larger than entire worlds. It watched every star, every ship, every living soul. Even the Void Dominion fleet trembled. Their supreme commander remained on his knees. His voice shook. "My Emperor, we have awakened the human commander." The ancient voice answered, "You have failed." Before anyone could understand, the Emperor raised one enormous hand. A beam of crimson energy struck the Void flagship. It disappeared instantly. Not damaged, not destroyed. Erased. Every ship nearby suffered the same fate. The Void fleet panicked. "The Emperor is destroying us." "Retreat." "No." "Run." Guardian Prime looked at Ethan. "Now you understand. The Void Emperor has never cared about his own army. He only desires one thing, the Eternus, and the commander who controls it." The crack in space grew larger. A colossal figure slowly emerged. It was impossible to measure. Its body seemed woven from living darkness. Entire stars vanished behind its wings. The council commander whispered, "How do we fight something like that?" Guardian Prime replied, "We don't. We stop it." Ethan frowned. "What's the difference?" Guardian Prime looked at him. "To fight is to destroy. To stop is to protect." Those words reminded Ethan of the ancient memories. Protect life. Never seek conquest. He finally understood what it truly meant to be the commander. Not the strongest, the wisest. The Eternus AI spoke. "Final protocol available." Ethan looked at the glowing display. "What does it do?" Guardian Prime answered quietly. "It will seal the void forever. But the commander must remain behind." Silence. The bridge froze. The council commander stepped forward. "There must be another way." Guardian Prime slowly shook his head. "There never was." For 12,000 years, the Eternus waited for one commander willing to sacrifice everything. Ethan looked through the massive window. The colony was safe. The First Fleet still protected thousands of worlds. Millions of innocent lives would survive if he made the right choice. He smiled. A small, peaceful smile. "I've spent my whole life fixing broken machines." He looked toward Guardian Prime. "Today, I'll fix the biggest one." Guardian Prime slowly lowered his head. "It has been an honor, Commander." Ethan sat upon the throne one final time. Blue light surrounded him. The command systems merged with his thoughts. Across the galaxy, every ancient human ship aligned with the Eternus. Millions of engines activated together. The final protocol began. The Void Emperor realized what was happening. Its roar shook entire solar systems. "No, you cannot imprison me again." It charged toward the Eternus. Too late. The First Fleet formed a perfect circle around the giant rift. Every ship released a beam of blue light. The Eternus fired one final pulse. Not a weapon. A seal. The crack in space slowly began to close. The Void Emperor fought with all its power. Stars exploded. Space twisted. Entire fleets were thrown across the galaxy. Still, the seal continued closing. Guardian Prime smiled proudly. The first human empire has fulfilled its final promise. The Crimson, I looked directly at Ethan. "For this, I will remember your name." Ethan answered calmly. "So will humanity." The rift closed. The crimson light vanished. The silence returned. The void was gone. For the first time in 12,000 years, the galaxy was truly free. Moments later, the blue light around the Eternus faded. The ancient ship slowly powered down. The First Fleet entered sleep mode once again. Guardian Prime walked into the command chamber. He looked at the throne. It was empty. Ethan was gone. The council officers lowered their heads. No one spoke. No one celebrated. They had won, but at a great cost. 1 year later, the galaxy had changed. Wars ended. Empires signed peace treaties. The Galactic Council removed every restriction against humanity. Across hundreds of worlds, new academies were built. Children learned the true history of the first human empire, not as conquerors, but as guardians. Above Earth, a single monument floated in orbit. It was simple. No gold, no jewels. Only one sentence engraved into black stone. One human mechanic saved the galaxy. People came from every civilization to see it. Many asked the same question. Will the Eternus ever awaken again? No one knew, until one quiet evening, a young girl visited the monument with her father. She gently placed her small hand on the stone. At that exact moment, far beyond the edge of the galaxy, inside the silent Eternus, one blue light suddenly appeared. The AI spoke for the first time in a year. New human signature detected. Guardian Prime slowly opened his glowing eyes. Then he smiled. Welcome, Commander. This ending gives the story a complete emotional payoff, while leaving a small mystery for a possible sequel. It closes Ethan's journey, reinforces the HFY theme that humanity's greatest strength is protection rather than conquest, and ends with a hook that can naturally lead into another story if you ever want to continue the series.